যদি সবাই ফিরে যায়, ওরে ওরে ও ভাগা সবাই ফিরে যায়, যদি গহন পথে যাওয়ার কালে কেউ ফিরে না চায়, তবে পথের কাটা তুই রক্ত মাখা চরণ তলে একলা দলরে, তুই রক্ত মাখা চরণ তলে একলা দলরে, যদি তোর ডাক শুনে কেউ না আসে, তবে একলা চলো রে। যদি আলো না ধরে, ওরে ওরে ও ভাগা আলো না ধরে, যদি ঝড় বাদলে আধার রাতে দুয়ার দেয় ঘরে, তবে বজ্রানলে আপন বুকের পাঁজর জ্বালিয়ে নিয়ে একলা চলো রে, আপন বুকের পাঁজর জ্বালিয়ে নিয়ে একলা চলো রে, যদি তোর ডাক শুনে কেউ না আসে, তবে একলা চলো রে। একলা চলো, একলা চলো, একলা চলো, একলা চলো রে।
Hi guys, thank you for joining the live stream. Today we have back with us after a long time Madam Political Scientist, also known as Audrey Trashcan. Hello ma'am, you are muted.
Hello,
Hi ma'am.
Jordan. Thank you for having me on the show again.
Welcome back. So I heard you were reading up on Pranab Bardhan for some research of yours, and you found
Yeah.
out, crazily enough, that he's an economist, of course. Those of you who don't know, very famous and legit economist from Presidency. I think he did his graduation and masters in Presidency, and then PhD in Columbia, or masters also in Columbia. I don't remember. We'll check out his bio as well. But the main point of today's live stream is that a political scientist found out that he has some insanely harsh criticisms towards the government, how the government can screw up. And that's very important because in economics classrooms, we are always taught market failure, market failure, market failure, whereas we are surrounded by state failure, state failure, state failure. So, ma'am, what did you find out?
Okay, so like I had told you before, he does talk about state failure, but he also talks about market failure in the epilogue to this book.
Fair
So
enough.
he had written the main book in the 80s, and the epilogue he wrote much later.
I see.
Post liberalization, and well, let's begin with what he wrote in the main book first, before he saw the effects of liberalization.
Yeah.
So there he's started by barring the first couple of chapters where he's mainly talking about how we have the growth has decelerated over the years since independence. He is saying that one of the main reasons he attributes to this is the existence of dominant proprietary classes, within which he lists three categories. One is the category of elite businessmen. Then there is the category of rich farmers in the rural sector. And then there is the category of the bureaucrats. So the way he goes about arguing his case is that these three categories of very powerful elite people, they have varying demands from the state, and they have been sort of patronized by the state for all these years leading up to liberalization. So and that constant and ever increasing patronization that has been done by the state towards these categories of people, these elite and rich and powerful categories of people, is what has eaten into the arena of public investment, and therefore there is less scope for public investment, because these three categories of people are sort of sucking the state dry, and so there is little scope for public investment left after that.
I see.
That is the overall view that you will get
Right.
from the first reading here.
So, does he say that? Does he give any recommendations or rectifications what to do to solve this situation?
He doesn't overtly do that, but there is a hint that reduction in corruption is one of the first things, because even in the liberalization era, in the epilogue that he's written,
Hmm.
The main problems he identifies are related to corruption. And
Hmm.
of course, like I had told you before, he's not arguing it with a libertarian logic per se. Just because he's
Yeah.
criticizing the state doesn't mean that he's adopting a libertarian logic.
Yeah, of course.
But he does identify that the very nature of state is such that, or the government is such that it has allowed for great degrees of corruption and laziness, sluggishness in work, and it has not uh, it has not condemned or punished uh, you know absenteeism enough. It has not punished
Hmm.
lack of effort enough. And in fact, if
See.
anything, in an indirect way, it has only increased the scope for it by creating more and more jobs. And in fact, he talks a lot about how there are these fake jobs, as in, these unnecessary positions created for some interest groups, some people from some interest groups, just to keep them satisfied and to give them
Yeah.
sort of free money. You know,
Yeah.
you will
Yeah.
find this all the time happening, and
Hmm.
he talked about it in the case of several states across India. I haven't gone
Hmm.
through his charts per se because I've not been trained so well to read charts either. But I was going through the
Right.
book mainly, the content of
Hmm.
the book. So
Hmm.
there he talks about this, that uh, the government keeps creating these fake jobs for people to get employed in, and that's bound to suck it dry ultimately.
Right. Uh, the moment you say the very nature of the state, has he ever used this phrase in the book? The very nature of the state is this way.
No, that's just the way I talk. But yeah,
Okay.
I
Um,
can't say that he used these exact words.
um, Even indirectly, has he made this argument that it will always end up being like this? Does he say this is inevitable? Does he say that this is avoidable?
That's the thing. He doesn't really give a prescription per se. The entire book is a critique of
That this is
the
always
way.
happening?
Yes.
Hmm.
And he has also shown that the parts that I wanted to highlight,
Hmm.
he has shown that the license Raj, which a leftist will argue was a way for the state to retain its. One second, please.
Legitimacy, power.
Yeah. So the license Raj, leftists will argue, was a way for the state to, legitimacy, retain its legitimacy, but also ensure that uh, maximum control remains within the hand of the state, which
Yeah.
means that there won't be unregulated capitalism and there won't be, uh, you know, uh, quality degradation and stuff like that. But
Hmm.
in reality, he's saying that basically the license charge is a form of disturbance.
Sorry.
No, I thought there was some disturbance in the network.
Oh, no, no, no. I
Okay.
could hear you fine.
So, okay. So, but he's saying that the license charge was
Hmm.
basically a way for the already established elite businesses to
Yeah.
consolidate their power. So,
Yeah.
because you have a license Raj in place, the
Hmm.
ordinary people of the country are unable to access the licenses required because they don't have the money to pay the bribes, they don't have the networks already established, and the licenses are not helping the country to develop economically. And
Right.
protectionism, what they call
Yeah.
protectionism, is ending up uh, crippling the economy. So he does. I'm paraphrasing, but he does
Yeah.
kind of say that.
Is he a leftist? Is he a self-declared Marxist economist?
Uh, See, I don't know about that. I haven't. I don't Google authors much.
We
I
can
just
Google it.
read whatever I come across. Yeah,
Yeah.
but from what I've understood, he's not right wing. He's not right wing.
Yeah.
Okay,
Of
because
course.
the way he has criticized the effects of liberalization in the epilogue, you can know for sure he's not right wing. He's not blind like that. So,
Hmm.
I mean, not that leftists aren't blind; they are all blind. But no, he's not
Hmm.
right wing. So one can assume that, despite his criticism of corruption within the state, that in fact, he
Hmm.
argues for better public investment. He's not against investment in the public sector.
Okay. I
To
see.
that extent, one can say that he's pro-state. He's not
I
anti-state.
see.
In fact, he uses
Okay.
the example of Korea to say that
Okay.
even in Korea there was state-led development. It was not a free market development. The difference is that in India, the development was substitution and closed economy and license Raj, which
Yeah.
ultimately led to crippling of the economy. Whereas in Korea, it was export oriented, and there
Hmm.
was great state control in Korea also, but that state control was not the kind that crippled the economy. It was the kind that incentivized more and more export. So you are
Hmm.
being pushed to compete with foreign markets, so you have to be better. And in the process
Right.
of constantly trying to improve your goods and services, you end up
Hmm.
becoming a more prosperous economy.
Hmm.
So that's the way he argues, and nowhere does he say that a complete free market is a good idea. To that
Hmm.
extent, I guess you can say that he's pro left.
Right. What's the timeline of these writings of his? Which era is
The
he
book
writing
was
these in?
published in the 80s, so
I
he must
see.
have written it around that time. Yeah.
So at the peak of Congress power, he was criticizing the Congress government essentially.
Yes, one can say that. um,
Yeah. Oh, he was in USA already. He was teaching in USA, I think, from 1979 onwards. So he was pretty protected already. So what I'm really realizing, yeah, yeah, go on.
No, thank you for actually going through his the timeline in his life as well, because that's not something I did. I was just reading
Okay,
the book generally. So at
okay,
that time, he has written a little bit about Indira Gandhi also in this
okay,
in the first section of the book. So she's
okay.
saying that he's saying that Indira Gandhi was also wary of these dominant classes, the three
Hmm,
classes that I mentioned.
hmm,
Um, One second, I'll just
hmm.
go back to my notes and see if I'm, misquoting
You
of
can
something.
go through notes. I'll just give a basic bio of Pranab
Yeah,
Bardhan to my audience. Okay. So Wikipedia says Pranab Bardhan is an Indian economist who has taught and worked in the United States since 1979. He is professor emeritus of economics at the University of California, Berkeley. Bardhan received his bachelor's degree at Presidency, his master's degree at University of Calcutta in 1960, doctorate at Cambridge in 1966, with a dissertation entitled "Economic Growth and Pattern of International Trade and Investment: A Study in Pure Theory." He taught at the University of Calcutta 61 to 62, MIT 66 through 69, ISI 69 through 72, Delhi School of Economics from 1973 through 1977, and joined Berkeley Economics Department in 1977. He has been left left India the moment communists came to power in West Bengal. He has been visiting professor and fellow at London School of Economics, Trinity College, Cambridge, St. Catherine's College, Oxford, and University of Siena, Italy. Holy shit. His early work was on growth and trade theory. Subsequently, he has done theoretical and empirical research on rural institutions in poor countries, on political economy of development policies, and on international trade and globalization. A part of his work is in the interdisciplinary area of economics, political science, and social anthropology. He has been on the editorial board of a number of economic journals. He won this award, Mahalanobis Gold Medal, etc., Indian Econometric Society. He is author of 13 books. Bardhan is also an advisory on the advisory board of something called FFIPP USA, Faculty for Israeli Palestine Peace USA, a network of Palestinian, Israeli, and international faculty and students working in for an end of the Israeli occupation of Palestinian territories and just peace. Just peace. He also served on the inaugural social sciences jury for the Infosys Prize in 2009. Okay, there's a gist of his views here as well. Okay, for Bardhan, equality of opportunity is more important than equality of income. Nice. He's almost our guy. He's mostly in the, of course, Amartya Sen, Abhijit Banerjee wing, basically developmental economics. But he's 40%, 50% on our side, or at least he has criticized that era of Congress. So 60% on our side, I'd say. Equality of opportunity depends on such factors as land distribution, education, and social equality. Fair enough. In his book, The Political Economy of Development in India, Bardhan discusses the nature of dominant proprietary classes in India, which you talked about. He claims that the industrial capitalist class, rich farmers, and the professionals in the public sector are the three main dominant classes in India, which play a major role in influencing and designing public policy. Bardhan claims that there is a conflict of interests among these classes and they fight and bargain to get adequate share in the spoils of the system. This process of negotiation and bargain gives relative autonomy to the Indian state to exert its power. Bardhan is famous for his prediction about China in 2005. He said, quote, China's authoritarian system of government will likely be a major economic liability in the long run, regardless of its immediate implications for short-run policy decisions. Source: a speech by Minister Mentor Lee Kuan Yew at the 37th Jawaharlal Nehru Memorial Lecture in 2005 में speech by Minister Lee Kuan Yew. But anyway, my point is, has this prediction even come true? Is China facing any economic liabilities? That's pretty debated. Who knows what the truth is? Some people say China is on the brink of collapse. Some say they are not at all. So anyway, ma'am, go on.
Yeah, so I just found the section he's written about Indira Gandhi a little bit.
Okay.
You think that Indira Gandhi was also wary of the control that the dominant proprietary classes, that is industrialists, rich farmers and bureaucrats, had over the state, and by extension that they had over her. And what she did is she centralized the flow of patronage and spoils from the state. And by doing that, and Pranab Bardhan actually appears to criticize this because he's saying that by centralizing all the power within her family, which is something we still see in the Congress
Yeah.
party, that
Yeah.
everything is family centric, centered around that one family.
Yeah.
He has made sure that Congress is no longer a decentralized entity. She
Okay.
has become the party. She has become the nation. So,
Right.
as a result, any criticism of her is taken to be
Hmm.
criticism of the party of the nation. So,
Right.
this is something he's written. And besides that,
Yeah.
he's also talked about how this meant that the dominant classes, uh, their channels to political power were made more narrow. But this was not a good thing because everything is focused around one family and the ways to access that family are obviously limited, then the brokers in between, they become more and more extortionist.
Right.
As long as you have multiple channels, there is a scope for extortion then also. But as long as there is a competitive multiple channel system, then naturally, due to competitive rates, there is a
Hmm.
some benefit to the people seeking it. But
Hmm.
the moment you crystallize it into one family, then there is a race to reach that family, and in an effort to, in that rat race, the people in between, they become more rent seeking, they become more extortionist, and that
Hmm.
leads to political racketeering, which also impacts
Hmm.
the economy, because
Hmm.
which is something we can still see in some
Yeah.
states. So,
Hmm.
and excessive centralization of administration and polity, it also corrodes the federal structure. This is something he
Hmm.
says, which is why the state and center relations also get affected.
Hmm.
And finally, he says that in such situations, the urban industrialists and bureaucrats tend to support the strong center because they are closer to the center. But the rural rich farmers, who are usually, geographically and even politically a little further away, they don't tend to support such a strong center. So this is the note on which he ends that little thing about Indira Gandhi.
Okay. Here's a question from an audience member. Do you know anything about it? Do these economists take technological advancement into consideration?
Uh, Partially, I mean, marginally, yes, they do.
Hmm.
But most of his analysis is related to economy and society, and technological advancement is sort of uh, tangentially referred to in some places, not all that
Okay.
much. I'm sure he takes it
Okay.
into account while analyzing it, but it may
Hmm.
not always come up in the book. So,
Right.
yeah,
Our viewer Boishalidi is saying Professor Audrey is back after a long time. Good to see you, ma'am.
thank you.
Now, what I'm wondering is, would you say that the 80s and 90s of India produced some of the best scholars we have ever produced? Not ever, maybe at least in independent India, because and maybe some of the most groundbreaking and research that could have finally led India into a great new path, and maybe some people in the Congress were also encouraging this scholarship, because how is Nicholas Dirks doing the all the stuff on caste, which today would be considered right wing? Declan Quigley, though not Indian at least, but Irfan Habib in the late 90s on writes on caste. which is also goes against all caste myths in the mainstream. And Pranab Bardhan is writing these things against the Indian state, and the let's say bad side of big government in the 80s. Then in year 2000, Dipankar Gupta writes that book, Interrogating Caste. What was going on, do you think? And is it a recency bias to say that no, what was going on back then, that was better than what's going on today? Has there really been a decline, or they were all there always have been some great scholars like this who have said things which are pretty fascinating and actually can do great things for the country?
I think the last line you said, I agree with that. There always have been some people who are great and some who are worse than mediocre. But
Hmm.
um, and the larger question that you asked about the Congress
Hmm.
Party's orientation towards academia. Now, personally, I am not so deeply politically involved that I can give a very uh, you know accurate answer to that.
Yeah, yeah.
But from what I have understood from my little
Hmm.
interactions or whatever, is
Hmm.
that while there is of course a tendency of the political regime of that time to produce some scholars who are going to work for the party in a way, this can range from economists to sociologists to even literature people. Um but I guess at that time there was a certain degree of respect to academics, which allowed them freedom to pursue work in their own ways as well,
Hmm.
um, which is probably still there even now. I don't see
Okay.
this regime interfering so aggressively to stop us from doing any kind of academic work. If anything, I
Hmm.
wish they would, because some of the work being produced is utter rubbish, but
Yeah.
and very deeply propagandist in a very blatant and false way. But and I don't see this regime also trying to stop us from doing that.
Hmm. Hmm.
But I don't know. I guess at that time, the freedom given to the academics was one factor, and I feel that the training was also more rigorous at that time.
Wait. Your last sentence got blurred a little. Repeat just the last sentence.
I'm saying that the training that these scholars received in
Hmm.
schools and colleges, that was also more rigorous than the kind
Exactly.
of training we get now. Because school, ठीक है, I mean, I don't have any complaints. The schooling I got, I mean, abhi ka school, to
Hmm.
forget it. These days in West Bengal,
Yeah.
they don't even pass and fail. Everyone graduates till
Hmm.
class 9, no matter how badly you perform in your exams. So, school system is terrible right now in
Hmm.
West Bengal. Government
Hmm.
school system. I mean. But
Yeah.
during my childhood, I got a pretty good schooling. I mean, school life, and but when I started studying sociology in college, uh, it was uh, it was not good, because
Hmm.
we were not taught Indian thinkers properly. This is not not in case of all colleges, but in some colleges specifically which have greater autonomy. Uh,
Yeah.
the teachers get to design the syllabus in their own random ways, and
Hmm.
sometimes the students don't get the right kind of exposure to statistics, to Indian social thinkers, and to a more difficult, I won't say difficult, but a more in-depth variety of sociology. Instead, they are only exposed to an overdose of, say, feminism, and maybe an overdose of some Marxist theories or something, and
Hmm.
that's about it. So the people graduating from such places, they are not sufficiently equipped to even analyze society or economy properly.
I see.
So what can we expect from students like that? What kind of thesis will they produce? They will only work on the hackneyed topics. Like these days, the most hackneyed topic I find everywhere is any when you try any random university or institute, at least two or three, one or two people will be working on menstruation. That's about it.
I
I mean,
see.
what are they working on? I mean, or something to do with gender and sexuality, something to do with transgenderism. But uh, personally, I feel like these are just easy topics. These are ways to get a PhD without working very hard.
I
So,
see.
ever since the system, when I was in college, in fact, some of the teachers took great pride in telling us that one of our seniors did her undergrad dissertation on the song "I'm a Barbie Girl," or on bullshit topics like that. So, if teachers themselves are encouraging this kind of quirky, stupid bullshit, then we can't expect great scholarship from such students when they are growing up. So when they are
Right.
in university or PhD. So I believe that a firmer, more stern education system back then may have also played a role in the rise of such scholars at that time.
Was it a literature PhD or a sociology PhD? The I am a
Uh,
Barbie girl PhD.
it wasn't a PhD; it was an undergrad
Oh,
dissertation. But even
okay, okay.
then,
Fair
unforgivable. I
enough.
mean, you do an undergrad dissertation on a stupid song. It was like a breakdown of the song, a critical analysis of it. I mean, even in undergrad, can you really condone a thesis dissertation like that? Do
It,
something real. Do something real. Don't just listen to your favorite song and then write about it. It's not even a good
yeah.
song. Anyway,
Our scientist audience member is saying, isn't menstruation a subject for anatomy? Why is it being studied in social science classrooms?
yeah, so I'll tell you the way they go about it.
Hmm,
Because most of these disciplines, they have to be covertly or overtly anti-Hindu in a way. So they will talk about how there is worship of female deities, but
hmm,
menstruating women are not allowed to enter mandirs. This kind of a stupid dichotomy. They'll take up something like this, and then they will
hmm,
cry about it and write a whole thesis
hmm,
about their crying. So
hmm,
something like that. I'm of course minimizing it greatly, but I don't want to maximize it either. So there's no
hmm,
point. Um,
hmm. I have some pushback for the for the I am a Barbie girl issue, because it's tough to push back without a laugh, because after all it's a funny hilarious song. It's meant to be a funny hilarious song. The song itself, the producers and the singers themselves don't take the song very seriously. It's a funny song,
yes, and then you
but
write a whole undergrad dissertation about it. I mean,
but
and
critical analysis of contemporary classics, think of the term lokosangit. Isn't lokosangit also critically analyzed for what it says about the society at that point? So any popular music is lokosangit grammatically. So why not Barbie girl then?
okay, okay, that's a good point. Um,
It's LA
I,
lokosangit.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I guess.
Now Boishalidi has two fantastic questions. One of which you actually basically answered already. She's saying, given the situation at JU, do you think humanities at JU should be completely defunded? It seems people get to know humanities comprehensively on YouTube than cherry-picked Marxist syllabi. And also, this is my personal question to you: do you agree with this statement that it's cherry-picked, the syllabus in social science classrooms today?
See, in Calcutta University, it's not so cherry picked because it is a
Acha.
big university with a lot of affiliated colleges. So, if you're studying directly under Calcutta University,
Hmm.
like colleges like so many,
Hmm.
Robona, whatever.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
countless.
then it's not cherry picked so much because that is a very, uh, you know, what do I call it, a fixed syllabus that they adhere to.
Acha.
But
Acha.
if you study in places like JU, Presi, or Xavier's, places like that,
Right.
uh, some of these non-CU places, there the syllabus has a
Hmm.
lot more liberty. Now,
Hmm.
if you have good faculty members, they will give
Right.
you a good education in those universities or colleges. But if you have lazy faculty members who will just avoid teaching you the difficult sociological theories, or who will avoid teaching you Indian sociology altogether and then take great pride in it, who will um, simply teach you how bad society is and how patriarchal society is. And there was a teacher who even told us that every single utility in the house is patriarchal,
Hmm.
is an agent of patriarchy, because it
Yeah.
hides the woman's labor. So a washing machine is patriarchal, a dishwasher is patriarchal, because it's all hiding the fact that women are picking up the clothes and putting it in the machine. This is the kind of bullshit that undergrad sociologists are taught in some places. Not all, again, not all. Colleges under CU, like I said, are different. Colleges under Bardhan University, or these places, the big universities and their affiliated colleges, that's a different story, because there it's a fixed syllabus, and there, unless you have a nut job teaching the kids, they'll usually get a proper education. But uh, places where syllabus is more flexible, you have to be more careful. I would suggest you go through the syllabus properly before enrolling, and I would suggest you enroll in a better course to begin with, a more useful, uh,
Hmm.
skill developing course.
Now, and what about the first question? Given the situation at JU, based on that, do you think humanities at JU should be completely defunded?
This is my personal opinion. Nobody cares what I believe, but I feel that JU is an extremely toxic place. So I feel that the toxicity comes not only from the syllabus, but from seniors and some faculty members who support those seniors. So
Ma'am,
syllabus
before
is the
before you before you proceed, let me just clarify one thing for a lot of people who might be skeptical of this view, or a lot of commies who might be watching this video. This is not coming from some village mafiosil pass out. Okay, the woman we are talking to is a topper from a graduation, master's, PhD days from multiple top legendary institutions in the country. Okay, such a person is saying it, and if someday she shows her face and reveals her identity, you will know what that I was telling the truth. So for now, just trust me, bro. Okay, now proceed.
okay. Chance pe dekha. If they have to say chance pe
Yeah,
dekha, আমি chance
yeah,
তো
it's not
পেয়েছি।
going to work on. Yeah,
আমি chance পেয়েছিলাম and it was disgusting, so I quickly ran away. So um, anyway, um,
yeah.
what
Should
I
it be
was saying,
defunded?
see, the syllabus is um, stupid at worst. But I don't have a problem with the syllabus because I think people have a brain of their own, and if teachers teach you bullshit shit, you will understand that. Because every time that I was taught shit that I felt was unimportant or uh, against my country or against my religion, I could see right through it. Okay, I didn't fall for
I
it.
see. I see.
And I'm sure there were other people in my class who may have fallen for it. But even if they fell for it, suppose like some Bengali kids, they have a very communist upbringing, right from
Mhm.
home, they get this communist upbringing while growing up, so they may not have a
Yeah,
problem with some of the anti-India,
yeah,
anti-Hindu
yeah,
shit. But
yeah.
but even they got bored with it. Okay,
Acha.
you can only take propaganda for so long. So they would get
Hmm.
bored with all the kind of unnecessary bullshit that was being taught to them. And see,
Hmm.
people who go to college, especially middle class children, they know that they have to use the knowledge they gathered there to get a job in the market, right? Not everyone has the luxury to depend on their fathers to send them abroad
Yeah,
with whatever they want to do, right?
yeah.
So, and I was one of those kids who knew that I have to build my own career. I need to get a job. I didn't have that luxury to,
Hmm.
think that I'll be sent abroad for free. So,
Hmm.
and people like me are indeed the majority in most colleges. So, when people like me see that you're teaching us in school, in college, that washing machines are patriarchal or that porn is empowering, that's not helping me to get a job. So people like me will always see through that stupid feminist propaganda and all that. So that's why I'm saying that syllabus may be bullshit, but people will not always fall for it if they have a bigger aim in mind. But the real problem in these spaces, especially a place like JU, is the toxicity of the seniors and how if you're not in a part of the ganja circle, then you're not cool enough. If you're not cool enough, then you won't have any friends, so you have to somehow find a way to enter those circles. Once you enter those circles, they start giving you the main drug as well as the mental drug to to fall for communist propaganda. And they will always give you half-ass information which will make you very indignant about what they're preaching to you. And the worst part is that in some cases, I cannot name the people like this
Yeah, of
publicly,
course.
but
Yeah,
in some cases, there are even some faculty members who encourage this entire toxic culture. And,
yeah, yeah.
as long as seniors are doing it, there are people who can still avoid the toxicity of the place. They will go study and come back because seniors are not going to control your marks. But if there are some faculty members who are indulging these ultra political, clearly leftist, clearly anti-Hindu people, then it becomes an oppressive culture because faculty members control your marks. And no matter what kind of a student you are, whether you're the rich kid who gets to go abroad for free or you're the middle class kid who needs to get a job, those marks will help you get there, right?
Hmm.
So that kind of a culture is just terrible. So if you
Ma'am,
are
I
asking,
have.
wish I could
Yeah,
just
yeah,
close down
y-
all the stupid
yeah, yeah.
departments altogether. Because but uh, yeah, that's just my opinion. Who cares?
I'm thinking you were saying that your the strata you belong to, that's the majority in Indian colleges. But is that the majority in social science classrooms, or is it the either the upper middle class or bit of the upper portion of the middle class only?
Yeah, I mean, I yes, it. I mean, I belong to that same category, but I, due to some reasons, I knew I had to get a job. So
Yeah.
even people who belong to the upper middle class or up category who go to these
Hmm.
colleges, they
Hmm.
do need jobs at some point, right?
Do they?
So
Because for them there's always USAID and NGO jobs and UN jobs and USA's PhD, or there's just, after all, at the end of the day, some rich guy to marry. Are they really interested in jobs?
there are people like that. There are people like that, but
Hmm.
even they, I mean, now that I'm trying to remember a few of them,
Hmm. Hmm.
uh, there are a few of them who do deviate from this typical story of just going abroad with their father's money and enjoying that. There are a
Right.
few who deviate from that, and
Okay.
there are a few who do go in this group. But
Hmm.
that strata is not that high in number, to be honest with you. Maybe in a class of 25, there may be 6 or 7 people who belong to that very privileged group,
Okay.
but the rest of the class does not. And there may
Okay.
even be some people who are quite poor. So yeah, it's a
Right.
mixed group.
Okay. And the second nice question from Bucharidi is that why is every humanities subject boiling down to sociology, including performing arts? My personal opinion is that it's the mother of all academia, the sociology as a subject. But what's your opinion?
Boiling down to sociology isn't just taking up the bullshit that some of the sociology people are preaching in
Yeah,
that sense.
whatever's, yeah, basically what sociology is teaching, that's getting trickled down into every other subject. Even STEM fields are getting affected by what's being taught in sociology. That's
How are
kind of the
STEM?
position of sociology, I think. They are being taught DEI, diversity training and stuff.
Okay.
And today there are social sciences being taught deliberately for this reason in IIT universities as well.
Yeah, I don't know whether this is the main reason why sociology is being taught in IITs. The rule in those institutes, as far as I know, is that the BTech students have to take a minimum of 5 humanities or social science courses
Yeah.
in order to graduate. A minimum
Hmm.
number, I don't know whether it's 5 or 10.
Okay.
And uh, they have a range of subjects to choose from. So they don't have
Right.
to study sociology courses. They can
Hmm.
choose to take economics courses. They can choose to take
Hmm.
psychology courses. They can choose to take,
Hmm.
policy studies courses or, history courses, whatever they want. So the
But
humanities
don't all
definitely
of the don't all of those subjects ideology come from sociology?
no, sociology actually came the last, right, in
Yeah.
the trajectory of disciplines emerging. So
Yeah.
these disciplines came much before sociology. So
Yeah. Yeah.
one might
But
say
when
that
sociology
sociology,
did emerge, didn't
yeah,
sociology swallow everything else, or at least that's the position today we are in?
I guess today we are in that situation. And the worst part is, the kind of sociology being preached today,
Yeah.
by which I mean uh, an excessive focus on transgenderism, on feminism. And I don't have a problem with feminism. Okay. Feminism is maybe part of the reason why I'm able to, you know, I don't know, speak out loud, get a job, things like that. So I'm grateful for
Hmm.
the liberal feminist movement that may have happened in the West, that happened in the West.
Hmm.
But the variety of feminism that is being propagated today, which is radical feminism, is not only toxic, it is absolutely dangerous to human society,
Hmm.
because you're brainwashing young girls to think that they don't need to build a family, they don't need a boyfriend, they don't need a husband, they can just be a boss bitch and rule the world. It is
Yeah.
extremely difficult to be a boss bitch. I don't have a
Hmm.
problem if a woman becomes a boss bitch. Go ahead and try. It is extremely difficult. Okay. And most of these lazy girls taking up sociology in college, they don't have what it takes to be a boss bitch. Okay.
Yeah.
Look at all the boss bitches around the world. How many of them studied sociology in college?
Yeah. Yeah. That's what
So,
I was going to say. Those of you who have what it takes to be a boss bitch don't need sociology.
huh. So, and to be honest, if you look at the generation of our grandmothers, it's not like aggressive women didn't exist back then. Even then,
Yeah.
there were women who dominated. Maybe they
Yeah.
dominated the household and the neighborhood instead of dominating a whole
Yes.
company. but
Yes.
they did dominate. They were, in a sense, boss bitches. But it's just
Yes.
that being a boss bitch was different. But
Hmm.
anyway, the point is that um, where was I? I was talking about social. So
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
sociology has come down to now,
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, excessive dose of these things. I
Okay.
There was a point of time where after watching that movie Danish Girl, I was quite empathetic about transgender rights as well, and I still am. I don't have a problem if transgenders have the right to do a job or whatever. But if
Hmm.
you're going to push it down my throat, and if you're going to
Hmm.
start entering the schools of children and start telling
Hmm.
them that they need to change their bodies, that's where I draw the
Hmm.
line. That's
Hmm. Yeah.
borderline pedophilia. Okay,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
the point is that all of these things, feminism and transgenderism mainly, that is what sociology has boiled down to these days. That's the saddest
Right.
part. A
Hmm.
discipline which at one point of time was about exploring unknown spaces of human society has
Hmm.
now boiled down to gender politics and
Yeah.
pronoun. That is just
This is why I'm.
sad.
This is why I'm taking Abhay Agarwal's question here. Define sociology.
Oh, define sociology. Okay. The definition has actually shifted over the years. Like I
Yeah.
see,
Of
the
course.
early sociologists like Durkheim and Weber, they would
Ah,
actually collect, they would study data and reach conclusions based on a lot of in depth research. So that was what sociology used to be, where they studied statistical data or whatever, old manuscripts, things like that, and they would derive conclusions from their study. And
hmm.
then there was also the group of people who did field work, like Malinowski, for instance. And there were many descendants of Malinowski also in the intellectual
Okay.
way who did
Okay.
do field work. And when I say field work, I don't mean the, going for a 2-day trip and coming back with a lot of opinions, not that. These are
Right.
people who actually stayed among the people that they studied and for a long time, and understood their way of life and wrote about it.
Hmm. Okay.
There was and then there was also the towards the 60s, I think. There was a greater turn towards theorizing and all of that. And as you can see, it's not easy to define the discipline so simply. But if I must, I could say that it's a study of human society, and it has been conducted in different ways over the years. But right now, the problem I have with this discipline right now is that it has almost given up on all of its forefathers, the sociological forefathers. I mean, the
I
people
see.
who created the discipline have been reduced to tiny bit in the syllabus, and they are not
Hmm.
taught with sufficient reverence. I forget reverence. They are not taught properly in some places,
Hmm.
and this leads to, and instead of that, you have this pushing of easy topics of transgenderism and topics like that. And it has come to a point where if you just do some feminist related work or uh, some work that ridicules the conservative way of life, something like that, you're gonna
Caste, Kashmir, and
possibly get a,
feminism. Three
yeah,
ways
something
to
like
do your
that.
PhD easily.
There are other ways of ridiculing conservative cultures as well. So these
Hmm.
three are, yeah, easy ways out.
Yeah.
And anything that has been made too easy is not going to help the people who pursue it.
Hmm.
Um, not
Let
not
me.
that I
Yeah.
support
Yeah. Go on.
unnecessary hard work. Now, I'm not saying that unnecessary hard work like a donkey is not also not something I support. But
Right.
uh, if there is no creativity in what you're doing, if you're simply doing something to please um, your professors because you know that this kind of thing is what they want to hear, it's not going to help you to survive in a real market. Yeah.
Hmm. Let me reframe this question and ask you again. Then, let's say, what is the point of sociology? What do you think its role is?
Mm, I don't have an answer to that because the role that
Okay.
sociology can be performed easily by political science and economics and history and all these other disciplines as well. One
I
could
see.
say that it's sociology is a discipline where all of this comes together, so you get a
I
taste
see.
of each things if you have the
Hmm.
right syllabus and the right professors, and
Right.
which allows for a more diverse perspective on things.
Right.
Diverse in terms of
You.
discipline.
Yeah. Yeah. Go on.
I meant diverse in terms of discipline, not DEI.
Yeah, yeah. We have some interesting questions from our viewer M Shastri. We'll get to that. Before that, I have one or two questions to get through. You mentioned something interesting, that even CU is a little less to be blamed here in terms of how insane the syllabus is, or how uh, let's say anti-India, anti-Hindu the syllabus is. But overall, is CU a good university just because they don't have that insane syllabus or that crazy syllabus? Let me ask you to rank CU, Xavier's Presidency, and JU in terms of liberal arts and social sciences, or especially social sciences, because I still personally have a lot of respect for Presidency's syllabus, because at least it's world class. At least they are producing quality scholars. We probably disagree with them 100% on most on things, but quality is still quality. Does CU have quality?
Yeah, if you ask me to rank, I would also probably put Presidency on top. And
I see.
and in terms of social sciences, you ask me to rank. So I'm not talking about commerce, science, and all that.
Right.
Yeah, Presidency, I would also put it on top. And but a close
Okay.
second would actually be CU rather than Xavier's or JU, because
Okay.
uh, or I don't know. JU would definitely rank last in my opinion, simply because even if they have good professors in some departments, there
Hmm.
is the toxicity is too extreme right now, especially. And
Hmm.
maybe in the past it was much better, but
Yeah.
I know a few people who graduated more recently, and their
Hmm.
experience was not good. And
Hmm.
uh, Presidency also, they have a very highly
Yeah.
politically
Of
active
course.
culture,
Yeah.
that they
Yeah.
do. But there is somewhat less pressure on individual students to take part and be deeply involved in all that politics. If you wish to,
Yeah.
you could still choose to abstain from all of that.
Yeah.
So,
Let me
yeah,
just interrupt you a little. Interestingly, that was the case even when I was getting into college, because I always had friends who were really great in studies. I was the worst in studies in my friend circle. So among my friend circle, when I passed out of school, all my friends went into either JU or Presidency. I was the only one who didn't get into JU or Presidency. But when I used to visit JU with them, I had a different experience, and when I visited Presidency with them, I had a different experience with them. Now back then I'm a leftist. All my friends are leftist. But even then, I remember telling my Presidency friends that I'm just getting a different vibe in this campus that I'm not getting in JU. This campus in Presidency seems like a place to study. The exact term I had used was Gyan Chorchar Pithosthan. Okay, I think anyone who knows Sanskrit will understand what I just said. Do you think it has something to do with the architecture of the place, because JU is just random government brutalist era bullshit Congress buildings, whereas Presidency is actually beautiful?
it is certainly beautiful. I'll agree
Hmm.
with that. But
Hmm.
can we really blame the whole thing on just the architecture? The
What's
respect and
different?
the
Why is JU different?
I feel it's because of the people. Like I primarily blame the seniors and the invested professors, the professors who have an interest in grooming students. Not all. I won't blame all
Hmm.
professors. I won't say all are
Right.
like that. But the
Hmm.
few that are like that, and I might even say a minority of the professors are like that, even in
Right.
JU. Okay,
Hmm.
take up each department. If they have an average of seven or eight professors, maybe just
Hmm.
two or three are like that. But the problem is this small minority of overly political, grooming oriented professors are more vocal and more oppressive and uh, less easy to handle
Hmm.
than the more academic oriented one. So
Right.
that's the thing that I think that these are the people who are making JU a toxic place, and
I
they
see.
are the ones who are also grooming the seniors. The seniors are accordingly grooming the juniors. So
Hmm.
I think recently the news came out today, that there's some
Hmm.
guy who committed arson in JU, right?
Oh,
Some
I
first
don't know
semester
about that.
guy. Yeah, there's
I don't know about that.
the Independent Bangla. I saw this news that some
Okay.
first semester guy in JU, he set some building on some place on fire, either on campus or somewhere, I don't know. So first semester guy, man, he's barely 17, 18 years old. What the hell
Hmm.
is wrong with him? Who is
Hmm.
instigating him to do this?
Hmm.
So I feel that, see, when we are teenagers, there is a tendency towards breaking rules. We are fascinated by breaking rules, right? So even when I was a teenager, I loved the idea of breaking rules, bunking classes. Who doesn't? Everyone likes to have fun when they are young, right? But
Hmm.
um, AU, what it does is it takes this tendency, this delinquent tendency of young teenage people or early
Hmm.
20s people, and channelizes it into a direction which makes them think that their delinquency is morally right, because they think that they are breaking down a system which is morally absolutely wrong. And as if just breaking, as if, first of all, as if setting fire to a building will break down the whole system. Number two, as if breaking down the system will be a much better system in its place. Number three, as if imposing their idea of utopia is a communist rule. So, as if imposing communist rule is actually going to solve any problem, is going to make things much worse, because there the state has complete control over human life. I can't even begin to get. I mean, we all the people watching this podcast surely know the problems associated with communism. So I won't waste time on that. But see what they are doing. 17, 18-year-old kids setting fire to buildings because they think that this is the right thing to do. Surely this is because they really feel justified at some level, right? ঠিক আছে, at some point maybe they're thinking that yeah, I'm so cool, I'm so, rebellious. That rebellious streak is getting satisfied, I get it. But for rebellion, will they how far will they go? With rebellion, you can only go so far. But if your rebellion is buttressed by a morality which your professors are endorsing, which your seniors are endorsing, which all the cool kids are endorsing, then that is when the problem begins. And that's what's happening in JU. From my own experience,
Hmm.
this is what I.
Yeah. Philosopher Christopher Nolan, through his character Joker, once talked about a kind of person, and who is, by the way, worshipped by commies of JU and Presidency, but they don't understand how much Christopher Nolan would have hated them, or if they met, if he actually met them. But the dog who's just chasing cars for no reason and would not know what to do with the car if the car actually stopped and he reached the car. So the burning down of buildings by JU students is like that. And also Christopher Nolan basically showed a communist revolution by Bane, and then it getting defeated and it being shown in bad light. And my second question is, why is CU a close second according to you in your ranking of best social science places in Kolkata?
Because they are less haywire with their syllabus. That's why
What
I
about in
feel.
terms of quality of scholarship?
Yeah, in that sense, I may not be so happy with that, but and also in the
Acha.
sense of marks, when we were growing up, when we were in college, CU marks was notorious for being very low, and a lot of our classmates and all, they suffered because of this. So marks is important, right? And in CU, if you get very low marks, then that affects your future career as well. So in
Yeah.
that sense, yeah, it's not a very good experience. Although recently I have heard that people who are graduating from CU now, they're getting better grades. Probably because a young lot of professors may have joined who are more empathetic and who give higher grades. I don't know, but
Hmm.
um,
What about quality of professors in CU?
that is very
I've heard
diverse.
some
Very diverse.
nightmarish stories from CU sociology professors about
Yeah,
CU sociology professors.
but no, I don't know about MA, but for BA, it's very diverse because a lot of
Right, right,
colleges
right.
are under CU, and these colleges all don't have the same recruitment terms.
Exactly,
Some
exactly.
professors are recruited through public service, some professors are recruited through college service, some professors
Yeah,
are recruited privately also, I think. So there is no assurance, there's no fixed standard about how these people are getting recruited, because every panel of CSC, PSC, whatever, they have their own priorities.
yeah,
So I
yeah. When
cannot.
I'm criticizing CU, I mainly mean masters. So
That is
I have a I know
but
someone. Yeah, yeah. Go on.
there are a few notorious elements in, but they have retired, I think.
Yeah.
As far as I know, they've retired.
Okay.
So
Uh,
I, I don't
I
know.
know some professors, some from friends, of course, uh, who teach you the worst stereotype of Indian teachers. They just come to the class and read out a portion from a paper and just leave in this monotonous voice. Okay, this is what Max Weber said, bro. Now get the fuck out of my classroom. And I have a friend who did her master's from CU and then went to do her PhD in USA. but her sister studied in Presidency. So w- when she passed out of CU doing her masters, even then at that point she did not know what epistemology ontology meant, and she went to do her PhD. And then her sister, who studied from Presidency, she explained to her what the fuck epistemology and ontology is. She passed out of CU with
Yeah.
marks, without understanding epistemology or ontology.
I wasn't thinking about the MA. I was thinking
Hmm.
mostly about graduation kids.
Right.
So for
Right.
MA, you're right. Yeah, CU is not that great an idea. But I mean, I can't rank JU or Xavier's to be much higher either. So I
I
don't know.
see. Um, uh, I'm curious about this. I have no idea about Xavier's in social sciences. How are they? Are they, is the syllabus bad, or the teachers bad, or are they good?
Well, as far as I know, the way that things are taught there is more. It doesn't adhere to any fixed CU syllabus all the time. So there is greater liberty to teach whatever you want to. So
Okay.
that is, in my opinion, not always such a great thing, because
Okay.
um, that means that students may not get what teachers don't want to teach. Students may not learn, certain things that teachers are not equipped to teach. So
Hmm.
yeah,
Our scientist audience member is saying JU's academic jingoism was due to engineering, which has gone through gradual decadence. Nowadays, nobody takes JU's engineering seriously.
mm, yeah.
Um,
JU was famous
yeah, yeah,
because
go
of
on.
engineering, and
Hmm.
in the humanities departments, I think economics was a famous department. Economics, pol science, these were the famous departments.
Hmm.
And English, there's a lot of gam, and people who get through JU English, they think they have conquered the world. So I don't know whether it's just that aura that they create which makes it such a great department or not. I don't know, but yeah, anyway, who cares? It's
Literature
English.
is art. You are teaching art. There, most amount of it will be giving vibes. So, and
Yeah,
if you and vibes of a particular kind. If you create your exclusive group and your own consumption patterns, and you get into it, then you are a king.
yeah.
There's no objective judgment anymore. Where would you rank Presidency in all India terms, in terms of social sciences?
Uh, I don't think I should comment on that because I have not had enough experience of enough of the universities across the country. So
Right.
only a few. I have only been exposed to the universities in Delhi. So
Right.
I don't know about Bombay or Chennai or places like that. So I guess it's best for me not to comment much on that.
What about in terms of quality of scholarships? Because you have obviously read stuff from everywhere in India.
Yeah. Okay. But you know that is I have not read from scholars who are very young or very recent or things like that. We
Oh,
have mostly been taught
yeah, yeah.
old authors, so to
Right,
that extent also it's difficult for me to um, give an opinion on that.
right, right.
But
Uh, yeah, go on.
no, that's it.
Yeah. Okay. I'll just answer this, and then we'll get to M. Shastri's a little more direct questions. He's saying I'm gonna go on go an extreme iconoclast and gonna ask or how or what would it take to create and develop an existing university to the levels of JU to diminish its overwhelming dominance. See, Eke Brahmo, the way JU was founded itself, there lies the answer how to beat JU. JU was created by people like Sri Aurobindo to beat the hegemony of the British education system. JU was a fuck you to the past education system, and then JU became one such institution itself. So how to do it directly today? Fill it with highly paid academics from all over the world. Build its legitimacy first, and then alter it however you want. No, obviously never sacrificing the quality of discourse, quality of scholarship. Topic agreement disagreement is a secondary thing. First and foremost is quality of scholarship. But in order to get that, in order to get the legitimacy, you have to fill it up with, to be direct, white people, white scholars, in order to make it a legitimate institution from all over the world. Now, if and many people in the government do understand these things, and then they pander to the far left nut job commies in the west. Okay, because they are the famous ones, they don't know anyone else. They won't fill the universities with Declan Quigley's, Nicholas Dirks's, and Andrea Major, who said that sati has nothing to do with Hinduism. We discussed her paper, or even Dr. Sumit Guha, and even this person. Who's the other guy? Anyway, all the people we discussed. Okay. Oh, even Salvatore Babones. They need to be building up the credentials of our counter institutions if we really need to make any, or just change the faculty there only. What's your opinion, though, ma'am?
Yeah, I do agree. We need an alternative. That's what we
Hmm.
need because I'll be honest with you. Even when we were applying for undergrad or even postgrad, JU was never, at least it was never my first option. Okay, I
Okay.
always thought of JU as a backup if I don't get anywhere else, which is why, like I said, chance fair dekha did happen, but I ran off as quickly as I could.
Hmm.
But yeah, so as it has gone down to such a position where most people who are serious about getting a job will not apply to it as their first option. So now, really, all you need is a better alternative, something
Hmm.
uh, with. I hate to put it this way, but something with more flash and more substance at the same time.
Hmm.
So, and the appearance part of it is also important. You cannot have a very rundown institution and then expect that people will regard it very highly. You need to invest more in this education and offer a better alternative to the consumers, to the students.
This is basically the more direct question and the more reframed version of the previous question only. So, if Narendra Modi makes you education minister, how would you clean up the system, or even how would you make a competitor to JU, which is as sought after as JU?
Okay. The first problem with JU is that the professors who are uh, trying to groom students into a political ideology, they are fixed in their cushioned jobs. The jobs are
And
permanent.
also,
No one can take them away.
the way they got their jobs, there lies the source of the problem in the first place. They got
Yeah.
those jobs just because they were CPM, close to CPM or close to Congress back in the day.
Yes.
So today, if someone gets a job just because they are close to BJP and then they say casteism happened after the British came, then we are stuck in the same fucking place.
Yes. So that is the first 2 points. Number one is that they get their jobs through some networks or some favors, or if I want to be very safe with my words, if not anything else, they get their jobs because they follow a certain ideological path in their writing, in their work, right? Even if they don't have networks and favors, at least ideological affiliation they surely have. This much we cannot deny. So
Hmm.
that is the first problem with JU. And secondly, having adhered to that ideology and accordingly gained favors by it, they land these jobs from which no one can throw them out. And why just
Hmm.
JU? Why just JU? There are people in other places also, in central
Hmm.
universities, who are propagating absolute rubbish against our country, who are preaching to our students that the military is your enemy, the army is your enemy, defending
Hmm.
our borders, and they are our enemy. So this kind of
Yeah.
thing happens outside JU also. Look at
Hmm.
what happened in JNU a few years back,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and we hear, bits and pieces from such professors from time to time, even outside of JNU also.
Hmm.
Um, so this problem exists across various universities, and in each and
Yeah.
every case, they are permanent in their jobs. They know they won't lose their jobs. At worst, it will be a slap on the wrist, and this lack of consequences is part of the problem. I'm
Hmm.
not saying that we should have a dictatorial rule where you have to adhere by one government ideology and nothing else. I'm not saying that, but really, I mean, someone goes on TV and says that Hinduism was invented 200 years ago. Before that, there was no
Hmm.
Hinduism. Someone goes on TV and says that Hinduism needs to be dismantled. Huh,
Hmm.
during G20, and she faces no consequences for it.
Hmm.
Really, I mean, how does that happen? So this is the first problem, and this is the reason why they can keep up their anti-India work. Uh,
Yeah.
Secondly, how would I do things differently? One is, like, Neeraj, and you yourself said that an alternative is important,
Hmm.
and uh, I believe that it's not just white professors, but also across races or across whatever, people who have accomplished enough to make a name for themselves in their particular domain.
Yeah,
And this is, of course, fact is that Europeans and white Americans have been able to do that quite well. Uh, I'm not going to deny that, and therefore it is generally believed that you need to hire white people to lift the status of university.
that's how places like UAE, Hong Kong, Singapore are doing. All of them have quality elite institutions today. All of them started out by hiring white people and credentialed proper scholars
Yes,
from the
yes,
West.
that's the main thing. I mean, white, but also credentialed proper scholars. That's the
Yeah, yeah,
second part is
obviously.
what I would like to
Yeah, yeah.
focus on more. Because no, I'll tell you why. Because a few years ago, there was this gender related some workshop in some institute here, and I attended it online. And there were a couple of white people there. I think one was half white, one was full white,
Okay,
British white, that too. And
okay,
he's not a very famous guy. Okay,
okay.
he's a professor in some university in his country, but he's not very famous, not accomplished much, and terrible. It was terrible attending his lectures. I hated it. Okay, he knew nothing. All he had was some very easy propaganda articles, and he just discussed it in the easiest way possible. And so that's why I have a problem when people say white. Okay, so it's not just white. Add a couple of
Yeah, yeah,
qualifications along with that, and yeah, then that's what you need.
yeah.
And the only thing that I still don't know how to reach is JU offers the degree at a
Hmm.
very low cost, money wise. Okay, same with Presidency. All these government institutions, they offer
Yeah,
this at
yeah,
a very low cost. Now,
yeah.
if you're hiring people who are very well qualified internationally and you're paying them really well, either you have
Hmm.
to invest en masse in that institution so that you can reduce the cost of studying there, or what you can do is you can charge a regular fee that you should, and maybe
Yeah,
offer a few scholarships to the
yeah, yeah.
economically disadvantaged people. Because
Right, right.
uh, I also believe that I'm not so right wing that I think only one straight off people should get educated, but
Hmm.
uh, then again, I also don't believe that everybody should get higher education. But whatever, just
Hmm.
to get there somewhere in middle, somewhere in between, I would say that we could offer scholarships depending on the economic situation of the people. The
Yeah.
scholarship also needn't be a blanket scholarship. It could depend on the income of the family, things like that. So these are some of the basic ideas off the top of my head. I haven't
Hmm.
really thought about it in great detail because I don't think I'm becoming education minister. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
just
Someday, hopefully. So, and with the country going more and more feminist every day, we can hope to see you
oh God,
on, on,
it's
on
dangerous.
such
The
a.
situation is dangerous.
Now, now to tie this together with Pranab Bardhan's research, what must the state do in terms of education? Then should it invest according to you, based on what you have learned now from Pranab Bardhan's research as well? How much should the state do? Should it really spend on education and quality education and hire the Salvatore Babonezes and Nicholas Dirkses and Declan Quigleys, or should they not, and then just see JU go on doing these shenanigans of Azad Kashmir and stuff, and then just say that these people need to be beaten up, they need to be given third degree, and basically rant about it and without any concrete results?
Mm. So if I want to, just to go back to Pranab Bardhan's book here, he's saying that like I told you a while ago, that the
Hmm.
dominant proprietary classes, they are making constant demands from the state,
Hmm.
which is not allowing for enough investment in the public sector to happen.
Hmm.
Um, and this has reached a point where it's like a system infested with termites, because there is great overstaffing, absenteeism, sinecures, fake jobs, fake payrolls, fake overtime, all kinds of things. These are things that we already know, and everybody is in on it. Not to quote Kejriwal, but some milieu in a different sense,
Of
not
course,
in
of
just
course.
party sense, but in
Yeah,
the
yeah.
economic, government, bureaucratic, that sense. So that's what he also writes.
Hmm.
um, and then he goes on to say that, one second. He's saying that economic failures occur because the state is unable to insulate its economic management from the political pressures like
Aha,
rent seeking
kya
and
baat hai.
patronage
Yes.
disbursement. So he
Yeah,
would
yeah.
actually advocate an economic system which is detached from the pressures of these proprietary classes, possibly even detached from the pressures of certain political groups, politicians.
How
So
the
that's
fuck
the
can
kind
that
of
happen?
ideal, yeah, that's the ideal utopian economy that he's imagining, which
Yeah.
would, uh, if we could insulate it, then it would help to develop our economy. And he's also saying that we need more accountability from the public sector and from the executive leadership, because that's what, he gives the example of South Korea and says that in Korea it did happen. There was greater accountability. Well, how will you do it in a country like India? You try to push accountability in any one place, somebody else will bribe the guy and uh, you know go back to the old system.
And you lose elections immediately.
Yeah, elections as well.
Now, though, everyone is turning libertarian. Yesterday, Tehsin Punawala came on Kushal Mehra's podcast and said that the first thing we must do is fire 50% of the bureaucracy. What the fuck? In 2025, he's saying it. Itne saal kaha the bhai? And then today, a parliament speech of Abhishek Banerjee went viral. He's talking about taxes on this, taxes on that. We are getting taxed on salary, then getting taxed on spending, then getting taxed on saving, etc. Why are there so many taxes? इतना taxes से क्या करोगे? भोसड़ी के taxes से ही तो तुम्हारा ये वो लकीर भंडार चलेगा. So after coming to power, everyone will again flip. But this brings me to the idea of one nation, one subscription. What do you think of that? Is it going to be really beneficial?
Yes, for academic research, of course,
Hmm.
it will help. And it's
Yeah,
I
because that
believe
also cost a lot of money, a lot of public
that
money.
does. Okay,
Hmm.
one thing I would do differently is that, the JRF money that people get, I think right now it increased to about
Hmm.
50,000 or so.
Hmm.
JRF SRF money that people are getting. They are getting this money regardless of what kind of research they are doing. So JRF is a system where you get the scholarship, then you apply to a university and you start getting your JRF money every month. But
Hmm.
there is no check on what kind of research you're doing. So basically, you're getting JRF money for maybe doing research on Azad Kashmir and promoting it. Maybe
Exactly.
you're getting JRF money to do research on how everybody should become a transgender now. I'm kidding. Of course, no one's doing that yet.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, you get the idea that
Yeah. Yeah.
people can easily get government money to write stuff against the government and in a very unfair way. I'm not saying don't criticize the government or don't criticize the state, even criticize whoever you want,
Yeah.
but
Of course.
have a correct moral basis for it also. Okay, you're just doing it because it's fashionable and because it's gonna reap rewards because the academic system is oriented in that way right now. That's not something I can digest.
Yeah, those opinions are just incentivized. People are not
Yeah,
stumbling
and
upon them out of their own critical thinking. It's just incentivized. Say,
just-
stumble upon that idea. I'm waiting for you to stumble upon that idea that Azad Kashmir needs to happen. Like Arundhati Roy once lost a debate to Karan Thapar. Karan Thapar politely asked a question, and Arundhati Roy got pissed off with him. I did a live reaction of it in the beginning days of my channel. So at one point, Arundhati Roy said, if the people wanted Karan, if the people just want, people of Kashmir wanted, then it should be given to them and it should become a different country. And a friend of mine from Presidency said that when I was a leftist and but still had some brains, I said, what's even the point of Azad Kashmir? Because it's just going to be a small country and Pakistan is going to gobble up. So my friend from Presidency said that India will protect it. Just like it has
oh
some
my
responsibility
god,
towards Bhutan and
oh
Nepal,
my
Sri Lanka.
god.
That's how Kashmir will be a different country. It will be independent, but India will protect it from Pakistan. Also, we are not going to pay our taxes because all of a sudden we are libertarian, but we are going to protect Kashmir as a different country.
Oh god. So what
Now,
was Karan
yeah, go
Thapar?
on.
How did Karan Thapar expose it? I mean,
Yeah, Karan Thapar, after getting so much insane points, Karan Thapar gave some pushback like, yeah, but how? Yeah, but exactly how is BJP autocratic? And exactly why should we give away Kashmir? So Arundhati Roy got pissed off and at one point said that, no, Karan, you are being dot, dot, dot. And she didn't really complete the sentence. And Karan Thapar said, no, I'm just asking a question.
so I have a point regarding that. If she
Yeah.
thinks that just because people are demanding it, Kashmir should be given to Kashmiris. That means that Assamese people are demanding NRC, right? So that means we should do NRC. There are
No, no,
Assamese
that would be
people
mobocracy.
demanding
We
NRC.
should
So
never listen to the mob.
that
We
is
should not.
mobocracy, but an ethnic cleansing in the 1990s was not due to mobocracy.
Yes, that was the
So,
wisdom of the masses. Yes.
okay, sure.
Now, we have two white supremacists in the chat. We have a Bengali white supremacist who is saying qualified white ছাড়া academia-তে উন্নতি করা যাবে white लोगों के बिना नहीं होगा academia का credentials. And another guy with Thomas Sowell in on the DP is saying সাদা চামড়ার লোক দেখে সবার জিভে জল এসে যায়, and so we need credentialed good white academics to build up the legitimacy of institutions, because we are not talking about just kids who follow politics all day. But we're talking about people in their first year, second year, or just passing out of school who don't follow politics. उनके सामने एक यूनिवर्सिटी का credentials हमको बेचना है. We have to sell that. See, this is a great institution where you must feel like studying. So that credential is going to come from, that legitimacy is going to come from, unfortunately, Western academics. And you can't wait for them to have a decolonialized mind to get into gurukuls.
I
Now,
agree with people,
yeah,
but my only point is the emphasis I would put is on qualified white academics and
of
not
course,
on
of course,
qualified white academics. So that's my
yeah,
only difference with that. I agree with them mostly because I
yeah,
can see the colonial hangover in everyone, even now.
yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah, right, right.
I wonder how I got over it, because these days, if I see a white person who is, against my country or something, it just disgusts me. So, like
Hmm.
I told you, with the thing I attended on gender and bullshit. So there
Hmm.
also it was a white guy, but
Hmm.
not impressive at all because he had nothing. I think a lot
Hmm.
of exposure to white people might actually help, because then
Hmm.
this fascination with color may also go down
Hmm.
significantly, hopefully.
M. Shastri has an interesting question. How would you define a standard? How would you define that particular standard, that very standard, which could get rid of garbage thesis and studies? How would you set that? Okay, if you don't meet this, and if you are doing these particular things, these are the do's and don'ts, then this thesis is not going to be accepted. Is there any way to do that?
Okay. Now, when it comes to thesis, PhD thesis, every thesis is unique. Not so much, but ideally, every thesis is supposed to be unique, right?
Right, right. Hmm.
So, setting a base standard for everyone may be a little difficult. But
Hmm.
see, hard work and honest work, I won't say hard work. I have a problem with the term hard work, but honest work
Hmm.
is evident. Uh, so uh, every thesis, in case of every thesis, it's a different story, but you can figure out if they have done honest work or not, or whether they've just done a very floating kind of research. So
Hmm.
I don't have an answer to what would be one monolithic standard for everyone, because there cannot be one monolithic standard. Because see, suppose there is someone who is studying a tribal village, just an example.
Hmm.
So the person goes and stays there and studies their ways of life, writes about their recent developments or changes, whatever. Okay.
Hmm.
And or someone goes there, stays with them, but doesn't really do any research about them, hangs out with them, has a good time, and comes back. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Somewhere I think it will reflect in your work. And secondly, field work is not just about spending time with your participants. Before you go to spend time with them, you're supposed to do a heavy amount of literature review. You're supposed to read up a
Yeah,
lot
yeah.
on what has already been
Yes.
done on it. And
Yes.
after reading up on that, you are supposed to find out who all have, written, how many of the works are, which works are still relevant, which works are outdated,
Yeah.
which works are propaganda. You can tell, if you start reading, you'll get a hang of it. You can tell which works are propagandist, which works have a problematic view, whatever, or
Right.
don't have a problematic view, whatever it is. But you have to do a lot of literature review. Like when I was
Yes.
doing this, it it took me around more than 8 months or so to finish a sufficient
Exactly.
degree of literature review. And
Yeah.
even then I felt like I could have done more, like Oscar
Hmm.
Schindler. But
Yeah.
that's the thing. Yeah. Sorry for that. But
Yeah.
that's the thing that uh, you have to do a heavy amount of literature review, and the more you do literature review, the more refined your work is going to be. and it's going to show. Honest work shows. That's all I can say. And if you have done a sufficient amount of literature review and after that you entered the field, the way you look at things will be completely different from the way an unseasoned person will look at things. So the two steps both are important: your homework that you do as well as the field work that you conduct. And not every
I,
case will be a field work. Some people will do other kinds of statistical archival work as well. But even then, even for archival, statistical, whatever work you want to do, the literature review comes before that. And if you do that honestly enough, believe me, like it will show in your work automatically, and uh, people will be able to judge it. People who are experienced enough already, that is, not lazy professors. Yeah.
hmm. I know one problem with literature review. You tell me, as a person in the academia versus me as a curious person looking into it from outside, am I criticizing just what they are discussing, or am I criticizing even the quality of research? Because again, the friend I was talking about, who went to do her PhD, then learned about epistemology and ontology from her friend, from her sister in Presidency. She is on the verge of completing her PhD and is buried like 60 feet deep in literature review for the last many months. Whenever I speak to her, it's all literature review 24/7. Okay, but and she's not studying in any Ivy League university in USA. It's, let's say, second tier university in USA, but all the stuff she's having to review, it involves a lot of American history, history of racism, etc. All of that is pure fucking propaganda. Everything I am whenever she is saying that, see, this is an interesting facet of, I learned about the dark days of USA, and I'm debunking that horseshit in 5 seconds. And then she says, no, 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 you can't say this is not the case, you are listening to some Republican propaganda. And I just say on every topic repeatedly, month after month, for the last 2 years, basically, whenever she brings up the stuff she learned in literature review, that, okay, Google it, find out whether I'm factually right or not. You are just reading some bullshit commie or woke interpretation of it. She says, oh yes, you were right. But is her quality really sacrificed, or is she just turning into a person who will do quality research, but I won't agree with it? What is being sacrificed here?
As long as she's understanding, when after, ultimately, if she's understanding that all of
Yeah,
that
because
has.
hard work तो हो ही रहा है यहाँ पे, but
Uh-huh.
on propaganda stuff, on manifesto kind of stuff.
You'd need a critical eye then. You'd see, one variety of literature review is what your professors and all will suggest to you. You should also like diversify from that and maybe read the alternatives. But you're right, this kind of a topic, it's a little difficult because a majority of the literature that the person will get will be biased in some way or another. So it's difficult. Like I said, each thesis is going to have a unique process. So the standard in
Do
each case will have to be redefined, I guess.
do people in academia really get time to read or study anything outside their syllabus, especially in their PhD days? Is it
Not in
possible?
the PhD days. Not in the in my experience, not in the PhD days. But soon after I finished my PhD, I actually went, dived right into everything that I missed out on for those few years.
Right.
So,
Okay,
but
here's an interesting question. Yeah, go on.
during PhD, it's very, very difficult to indulge in
Yeah.
other things. For me, it
Yeah.
was, yeah.
Yeah. All my PhD, social science PhD friends say the same thing. Oh shit. পেনের ঢাকনা দিয়ে জামায় ঘষে দিলাম. Shit. It's a nice t-shirt. But JRF money is yeah, go on.
I was saying it's a mark of an intellectual, don't worry.
Yeah. Now, an audience member is saying, but GRF money is temporary, right? Money, even if you get money for 2 years, 50,000, how does it matter? The cost of scrutiny will be higher, don't you think?
You get the money for 5 years,
Hmm.
not 2 years. 2 years is GRF, then, sorry, I think 3 years is GRF and then 2 years is SRF. So total of 5 years.
Okay.
And so what's the question? GRF is temporary money, even if you get the money, how does it even matter? Cost of scrutiny will be higher. How will when a cost of scrutiny as in?
Oh, because you had mentioned no, how to channelize GRF money to bring in some accountability.
No, no, cost of scrutiny won't be higher. Why will it be higher? Because right now it's like you get the money and you do research on whatever you want. What instead what we could do is we could offer certain fixed projects, or we could offer certain fixed topics, and based on that you can do whatever you want, something like that. That will reduce costs. You don't have to scrutinize whether or not every person is doing anti-Hindu or anti-India work or not. You can just fix certain areas of research, not even topics. Fix certain areas of research, and then based on that you do your work.
Hmm.
So see, even if you want to work on Kashmir, go ahead and work on Kashmir, but fix the area of research in such a way that it doesn't matter what separatists are saying. It doesn't matter what stone pelters are saying. Focus
Hmm.
maybe on the economic development in Kashmir that's going on right now. Things like that. Things that actually matter. Who cares what
Hmm.
a stone pelter's opinion is? I mean, there are people doing PhD interviewing stone pelters and their families. Who cares?
Oral
How is that
accounts,
going? So
oral
what?
oral history.
So what? Why should I care what they think? I will care whether that area of the country, of my country, is developing properly or not, whether there is tourism happening or not, whether I can go or not, whether I can go or not, whether
Hmm.
my Hindu brothers and sisters who were once thrown away, whether they can resettle or not. These are the more
But
relevant questions.
if the people want it, Karan.
Yeah. If the people of Assam want NRC, Karan, what should we do?
Now, Bhushalid is asking. Yeah, yeah, go
Yeah,
on.
if the refugee populations living in West Bengal want CAA, Karan, what do we do?
Bhushalid is asking if humanities is imposed on science and tech students, it's only fair that humanities students should be forced to study maths and chemistry.
Yeah, I agree. Because so
That would be
many of
fun.
us take up humanities just to run away from the fear of studying mathematics. I don't see.
Yeah.
I don't want to judge such people, because many very intelligent people I know are scared of mathematics and joined humanities because of that reason. So
Yeah.
I don't want that. But I personally, I have actually been trying to study more statistics and study more. The reason why I picked up this Pranab Bardhan book was to get a more introductory view of economics, and learn more economic related terms, and learn how to read charts. I've been trying to coach myself in that direction. So I actually agree
Hmm.
with this person that uh, humanity students should be taught some degree of science. um, but like I said, the problem is right now, um, students seem to think that if I want an easy life, I go into humanities. If I want to run away from
Yeah, yeah,
mathematics, I go into humanities. So
yeah,
if
yeah.
this is the mentality of students entering humanities, and then you teach them maths and science, I don't know, they may run and drop out or something, right in
Hmm.
school or something like that. So I don't know whether that will be very helpful. But I don't know, maybe you can offer minor courses on these things, so that people who are actually interested and who are not very scared of mathematics can actually take it up. People who are scared, who don't want to do this, they don't take it up. Because why make college experience toxic, or high school 11, 12 experience toxic, uh, just to because these people who are afraid of mathematics, they are genuinely, they are traumatized by that discipline. Okay.
Hmm.
And I see no, and they are not all of them are growing up to be leftist people, anti-India people. No, very much nationalist people also, but they may be scared of mathematics. It's not their fault. So pushing it down their throat, I don't know whether it helps. But maybe, like I said, maybe offer additional minor courses. That way, at least people who are interested, they can have a go at it.
Hmm.
So yeah.
In general, I think Indian teachers are really bad compared to the West, and that's, I think, in every field, because the people who do in the end join maths or get into maths or STEM because they like it, it's mainly because of their upbringing, the environment that was there in the family, where everyone kind of celebrates STEM and everyone had studied STEM, and the people who fear it because of the teachers, not because of their upbringing. And me as a college dropout, whenever I have done any course on insane topics, that stuff that I would not ever dream of studying when I was in school and college, only I got interested in them because of my interest in politics, stuff like finance or economics. I did all these courses on Coursera. Okay, political science. I have seen
Hmm.
that all of those professors teach so well. Even
Hmm.
music, every
Hmm.
music production masterclass that I download by Hans Zimmer or Timbaland, or even the music production, music arrangement, these are the courses I have done on Coursera as well.
Hmm.
All of these teachers, all of these subjects are way better than anybody I have come across in India. Now
Right.
even Khan Academy, the guy who runs it, is his name is Salman Khan, so he just calls himself
Hmm.
Sal Khan. He's an
Hmm.
NRI guy. His
Hmm.
parents were from Bangladesh. No, they were from Murshidabad, as far as I remember. They
Okay.
went to USA in the 70s, and now he's a big shot tech bro, and he runs this educational website where every subject is taught for
Hmm.
with visual cues and stuff. There I was taking up a bit of a maths course because I needed some help with my finance course on Coursera. So that was the first time I felt a sort of a joy in learning maths. How is that
Hmm.
happening? There is definitely some insanely horrible communication and comprehension skills that Indian teachers have, but that the West doesn't have, which probably comes with a bit of holistic learning and uh, communication. I don't see how that can come without a love or interest of literature and good movies and stuff. Maybe our past generations were brought up on, no, they were brought up on even better literature, so I don't know how the fuck everyone's comprehension and communication skills are bad in Indian teaching circles. But I think most people don't get into STEM is because of the teachers and the way STEM is talked about, that onko,
Hmm.
maths, you have the science, holy shit. If you make a big deal out of it, even before the kid gets into it, then it's a uh, wrong way to go down anyway. And
So, couple of things just to add to what you just said. I agree with
hmm,
all of it. And
hmm,
one point is adult learning is very different from child learning, right? So you as a grown up person, you're choosing to learn these things, you're actually interested, and therefore even if it is bit difficult, you will cope with it and you will fight your way through it and learn it, right? Because you are
hmm,
genuinely interested in learning it. That's why you're doing these courses. But a child in school is doesn't have a choice. So there
hmm.
is a possibility of the child becoming more traumatized or more disgusted with the subject if the teacher is not good enough. So a lot of other contingencies come into play there. That is one thing. Second thing is that the very big problem I have seen I have been through a number of a number of schools actually. Yeah, high school only, I guess. So one problem that I've seen among the bad teachers is that
Hmm.
they have mostly become teachers because they got nothing else to do in life, and that made them want to assert their authority even more, and that
Yes,
made them
the
more
fucking
toxic.
psychos, the kind
Yeah,
of people who become police officers, that's in terms of men, and some
yeah,
crazy women are the same kinds of women who become teachers, just because
yeah,
they felt unheard, the feeling of powerlessness. That's why they
yeah.
teachers.
So see, I have been lucky that way. I have had very good teachers also in my life,
Of course.
but
Hmm.
the few bad teachers that I have had have opened my eyes in a different way.
Hmm.
So we had even a even the PT teacher I had in one of my schools. Okay, I
Hmm.
mean, I'm sorry, but all she ever made us do was raise our arms and put our arms back down. Okay, that's it. But
Yeah, yeah.
such desire to dominate us even there. So
Hmm.
he would pick flaws with our our shoes, the white shoes, and say, "Ekhane, why the tiny dot there? Why the tiny speck of dust there?" So that's the
Ga-
degree of authority they crave.
yeah.
These people. You put such crazy fucking psychos in schools to teach children. How do you expect them to? How do you expect children to love the disciplines that are being taught to them, the subjects, right?
Hmm.
So. Uh, of course, like I said, good teachers are there, but the bad ones, they make the whole experience terrible, especially if they're teaching a specific subject.
Yeah.
So, and these are,
Now,
the bad
yeah, go ahead.
teachers are the bad teachers are usually not people who wanted to be school teachers all their life. Okay.
Hmm.
So they are mostly people who couldn't do anything else, so they are teaching in a school. Now this is a big problem. Like if you're teaching children, you're framing the minds of the future,
Hmm.
and you're doing it because you had nothing else to do in life, then the product won't be very good that comes out of you.
Yeah.
We need
Yeah.
people who want to be in school, who want to teach in school, who know
Hmm.
the importance of grooming children, teaching children. So that's the thing.
Yeah, coming back to West Bengal, our education system is fucked anyway. People are leaving
Mm.
anyway. On top of that, we have a bunch of people who are doing protests on the streets just to get a government job for 6 years, 7 years, because they are not qualified to do anything else. The market won't pay them for any fucking thing, not a
Yeah,
single thing. They have to wait and wait and wait for that one government job to teach. And
yeah.
when the camera
Why
people get to their
why
faces, th-
not imagine why not any other government job?
yeah.
Okay. Because they
And
know that this is
then they say they have a passion for teaching. That's why they are on the streets for 7 years.
oh God. Yeah. Just imagine if someone like, Donald Trump and Elon Musk do over to come to power in West Bengal, what would happen then? I mean, they're already serving notices to people saying, justify what you did the last week. Suppose they ask these people, the ones teaching in these schools and colleges, just to get an easy life, what did you do last week? What would happen then? They did nothing last week. So
Yeah.
the whole system would just fall to the ground. I
Yes.
honestly, I wish something like that, some power duo like that would come to power in West Bengal, so that there is some checks and balance, because the amount of money, public money being wasted on these institutions, and like I said, they have removed pass fail till class 8. So the students are academically suffering even more, because who will work hard if they know that they'll get promoted anyway, right?
Yeah.
No student will work hard.
Yeah.
So a huge overhaul is needed in the education
Yeah.
sector.
I was actually going to ask on this specifically. I had it noted down. What do you think of the pass fail going away? Because why is it bad? Why can't it be more inclusive? Why can't we all just learn and keep on learning up until class 12, and the tough things will come later on?
We are learning even with pass fail. You and I went through
Hmm.
the pass fail system. We learned.
Hmm.
So we don't need to remove pass fail in order to learn.
Why delay people's education by making them fail?
Not
Who's going
everyone.
to pay
So
for it?
no. So even if there is a person who repeats a class, that doesn't mean that he's going to suffer, because if he's repeating the class, it means it may have been necessary for him or her, and then the base is made stronger. You learn better. What we need to remove is not pass and fail, but the stigma associated with fail. That's what you need to remove. Because in my school, there were, every year that I graduated from one class to the other, there were one or two people who failed and who stayed back in that class and who became our classmates. Okay.
Hmm.
And over time, they became very close, and it was, we forgot that they were in a senior class before. First couple of days, a stigma is associated with that. That's true. They themselves also felt very conscious, but we forgot all of that. They became we all became very close, and they just continued their education, and it helped them. Do you
Hmm.
really think that if you're not qualified enough, if you've not understood everything properly, and you're somehow just pushed to the senior class, that will be much worse for you?
Hmm.
Because it means that the higher level studies that you're going to get there are not going to be comprehensive for you, and you're going to suffer more. So
Hmm.
that's why I don't think removing pass fail is a good idea at all.
Hmm.
Plus, I mean, this aspect is there, and secondly, if you remove pass fail, the majority of students will not study. They will not learn. Studying
Hmm.
Mukhastha Vidya and all that I don't like, but they will not even try to learn anything,
Yeah.
because they'll know they'll graduate anyhow. And how are these students going to do well? And see, even in 9, 10, 11, 12, uh, sometimes what happens is, in your board exams, you're overmarked. Okay, this is something, it's like an openly known thing, that compared to your pre-boards, your board exams, you're usually a little more overmarked. So they may even somehow graduate school. And as it is, these days in West Bengal board, the pass marks has also been lowered greatly. When
Okay.
in West Bengal board in our childhood, I think the pass marks was 36. Now it's gone further down. Okay.
Hmm.
Whereas usually in CBSE and ICSE, the pass marks is 40. Now it's much less than 36 also in West Bengal board. If I'm not
Right.
wrong, the pass is 25. So
Oh.
as it is, even in board exams, you have made it extremely easy for these students to pass. Okay.
Hmm.
So you've removed pass fail. You've made passing boards extremely easy. Great. You have helped them so far. What happens after
Hmm.
that? What
Hmm.
happens when they start to go into the real world? Who has prepared them for it? Not that school has prepared you much anyway. I am not a believer in the fact that, in the thought that, school is equipping us with everything we need to know about the world. No. But let's face it, if you want a job in the organized sector, which is what most human beings tend to want, then you do need some degree of a solid education, right? Let's
Hmm.
not romanticize a lack of education as a good thing, which
Hmm.
some of these right wingers do in the US. So
Hmm.
you do need a solid education, especially in school. In fact, I would not encourage everyone to go into college and university, but at least school education, it needs to be solid. And for it to be solid, you need pass fail.
Hmm. Now we have some comments that I need to reply to. Wait, yeah. So Pram and Buddhadev Bhattacharya are both asking, stigma nahi rahega to fail ka meaning kya hai? Stigma on failure going away is as real as a unicorn. What I would say is that stigma,
No,
if it happens organically from the children around them, then it's fine. If it's officially bullying, then of course that needs to be prevented. But the stigma should not come from the school authorities, from the teacher themselves. The teacher must not come and make fun of the guy who has failed and or is repeating a class. There we'll have other dire consequences.
like I said, the people who repeated classes when with us, who were seniors and became our classmates, we became many of them became very close with the new
Yeah.
students. One
Yeah.
of my closest friends with whom I'm still in touch was a person who repeated class 6 and then joined. When I went up to class 6, repeated class 6. So she's one
Right.
of my closest friends till date.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's not like that. Children aren't
Hmm.
all that diabolical. I mean,
Yeah. Now, the other thing I need to respond to is I need to clarify actually. Buddha but Arkar is saying that, but don't you think the job is rightfully theirs, meaning those TET candidates? I mean, let's not give TMC a bailout here. Yes, yes, 100% yes. The job is rightfully theirs, but it's a retard versus retard conversation and competition going on at this point. The entire phenomenon really. Now,
hmm.
Busharid is asking, has decades of rewarding left-wing research and upending dissent made humanities a fetid cesspool of mediocrity?
Yes, indeed. Straightforward
Hmm.
answer, yes. A thousand times yes.
Right. Wait, we'll take the next question here. Yeah, this is an important follow-up. Does this mediocrity give rise to mediocre socio-political policy think tanks? And hence the national policy making suffers. For example, our understanding of history and society is poor because of NCRT books and the horrible Dumontian view on caste.
Hmm. This is something I haven't thought about, because people who are making the
Hmm.
policy, how many of them are a victim of this system and how many of them are not? That is something we need to get into first. But I think at least partially that may be true. But I'll be honest with you, this new education policy that the BJP has implemented, this actually has a few very good, reforms. For instance, they have this system whereby if you join college and if you quit midway, say you've completed till the second year or third year and you quit midway, because now it's a 4-year graduation degree, you can you have the option of coming back even a decade later or many years later and completing the degree. So I think this freedom is a very good idea. Although leftists are saying that this will incentivize people to drop out, but it is not a dropout to begin with. Even if you complete 1 year, you get a diploma. If you complete 2 years, you get some degree. If you complete 3 years, you get another kind of a degree. And then you complete 4 years, you get some other kind of degree. So it's not incentivizing people to drop out. It's in fact allowing people the freedom to explore other options and then come back if they like.
Hmm.
Because because I am acquainted with a lot of students who are from very poor rural backgrounds. Okay, so for them, college is a huge luxury. So some of them have to drop out for financial reasons because they really cannot afford it. So these students, once they get a job or they find some work or the other, so if they find that work and after that, after a few years, they have saved up money and want to complete the degree, they can. So the NEP to that extent is quite open and liberating in that sense.
Hmm. Okay.
Other
Before
than
we
that
take,
also,
yeah,
other
go
than
on.
that, the question regarding policy, it could be partially true that the people who don't have really good ideas or a very good education, they are framing the policy,
Yeah,
then it's
yeah,
bound to have an effect. Yeah.
yeah. It would make sense. It was a very good point. We'll take briefly this next question on the screen, but before that, let me again respond to something on the screen here on the live chat. Some nice comments, statements have come. Uh, AK Brahmo is asking who is going to teach the students the basic things which are non-academic. Who's going to teach the boys not to ogle at girls? Who's going to teach not to litter? Basic manners their parents can't. First of all, their parents ideally are the only ones who can, or pop culture and social media. So who else is going to teach this stuff? The only other way to do it is just by being those things themselves. The parents, you don't even have to teach a lot of things. Kids generally emulate, and if you emulate your parents littering the streets, or you see your father ogling at women, then you are done. Next comment is if their parents could teach them discipline, then these rising cases of violence against women or sheer lack of basic civic sense wouldn't have happened. Yes, it's a big discipline issue, but also how the father treats or talks or interacts with the mother. There lies a lot of it as well. Um, there's one other big important factor in terms of preventing crime. Think of the broken window theory, based on which Rudy Giuliani cleaned up the streets of New York. That if there's a neighborhood where randomly, in India's context, it happens in a different way. I'll mention what's the Indian context according to me as well. But let me tell you what was going on in New York at that point when Rudy Giuliani was the mayor of New York. That randomly, one fine morning, a street or a neighborhood which had nice, let's say, Bhadralok people. One fine morning, you see some random window pane is broken, or an abandoned building. That building's some of the window panes are broken because somebody has just for fun broken the window. Okay, throwing some stones, or there are graffitis here and there, which are usually done by kids who are just being naughty, or who are jaywalking. Okay, for no fucking reason. Rudy Giuliani starts arresting those people, and the entire crime rate goes down because a person who is prone to breaking those rules to some degree are also prone to who about there was some statistics like 60-70% of them would go on to do much bigger crimes. In Indian context, think of some neighborhoods that are gradually going to dogs today. A peaceful neighborhood that middle class, well educated, nice Bhadralok middle class people grew up in. Suddenly you see, after the evenings, bike gangs or even 2-3 bikes go through your neighborhood, on which guys are giving galis or having beer and stuff, and shouting at the top of their voices while passing through the neighborhood, which would never fucking happen when we were kids. The elders in the neighborhood come out and thrash the shit out of them. They would say, "Who the fuck are you? Why are you shouting? Why are you using abusive words while passing through our neighborhood? What the fuck is this?" And there would be a huge ruckus. So all of that is gone. So the how to apply broken window theory here is to make people pay a huge fine, or do jail time for animal cruelty, because anyone who does animal cruelty is also more prone to do crime later on, especially violent crimes, especially crimes against women, because animals and women are the same things to those kinds of people. They are just physically vulnerable people on whom the bully who has never felt the never felt power, I've always felt powerless. On these species, I can finally exert my authority, physical dominance, power, everything. Like, remember what Kevin Spacey said in House of Cards: everything is about sex except sex. Sex is definitely about dominance and a bit of politics, but rape though is definitely everything other than sex. So our animal cruelty laws are a fucking joke. Do you know what the punishment is if you actually get proven to have abused animal, a random animal, not a protected national animal, or any animal? It's something. It's I think 50 rupees. I think Narendra Modi came in and made it 100 rupees. Okay. So if you are letting all these people go scot fucking free for torturing some animal to death for no fucking reason, you are absolutely filling the streets with potential rapists and torturers and big time murderers forever and after. You have to take animal cruelty insanely seriously in order to prevent cruelty on humans. Now, what was the other thing he mentioned? Yeah, this was it. Okay. Now, Boshali, these question. Ask, do you think drugs has something to do with such delinquent behavior at JU?
I agree. I think so.
Okay.
Like I said, when you're a teenager, breaking rules sounds like fun, and then you are given a few drugs that anyway mess with your brain, and an already delinquent brain is more likely to become more and more delinquent. So
Hmm.
I feel that it has a big role to play.
Hmm. Moinagda is saying, pointing out something interesting that when he was in JU, even the people who were into drugs, they did not do drugs inside the campus. Okay, they had a minimum respect for the professors, but that was in the STEM departments, not in the arts departments. The people in the arts department, according to him, had the let's say uh, they were the ones who were going around smoking in front of professors because they don't
Yeah.
believe in hierarchies. I have a friend. I have so many commie friends. Holy shit, I can't finish my commie friend stories. I have a friend who is transgender at this point and recently has tried to reconnect. Now, he, who is now she, has a video on YouTube because he's a professor of a particular subject, assistant professor or some like this is his first year of teaching basically. Now, in order to connect with his students, he has a video up on YouTube where he says that, you see, I don't believe in this professor student relationship. I'm not above you. We are basically two friends hanging out, and we are going to talk about stuff. We are going to talk about issues, and that's how we are going to learn. uh, then how is it going to happen without any authority? If you are going to look to breaking down hierarchies everywhere in every fucking context, you are going to try to break down a thing which is in fucking inevitable, then you are going to screw up the entire institution. There's no way around it. Next
What
question
is the
is,
need? What is the need to break the hierarchy between professor and student? How? What good thing is it going to lead to?
as if you are going to become a good teacher, a good communicator, good articulator, just because you are equal to the students. What
Yeah.
what the fuck is this logic?
See, if
As if you
my
can't learn
teacher
something from someone you respect.
exactly, and if my teachers were to pamper me too much, I would have taken advantage. I wouldn't have submitted my assignments on
Yes.
time. I wouldn't have studied. I myself would have done that. I confess
Yeah.
it. So why incentivize that behavior by pushing a stupid narrative of equality?
Yeah. I mean, respect has some weird connotation for them. Bushalidi is asking, do you think it's more difficult to publish right-wing dissent in international publications than mediocre left-wing work that toes current lines and hashtags?
It has been more difficult from personal experience. I can say.
Hmm.
Um, there are times I have submitted some articles, and I would at least like to know where I went wrong. If you're rejecting me, at least tell me where I can improve. So
Hmm.
there aren't even any comments regarding that. They just outright reject it. But
Hmm.
in the same journal, I sometimes see meaningless stuff getting published sometimes, and um, another time. Yeah, there has been a few times where they have given back comments and I have improved on those comments. I've sent it back to the same journal, hoping that this time they will publish it because I've improved based on their own comments.
Hmm.
But then some other set of comments come back, and some of these comments even directly say that why aren't you showing more political mobilization, more unrest, because they always want to show India as a continuously in a tumultuous light, as
Hmm.
if there is no
Hmm.
stability, economic growth, nothing. It's just always in
Hmm.
a state of tumult and fighting with the government. There's never any peace. That's the kind of narrative that's very encouraged. And maybe they didn't. I'm paraphrasing, of course, but the sense you get from their comments is like that. So if you toe the line and if you show that, oh my God, India is in such a terrible state, then chances are you'll get published better. Even if you don't show that India is constantly fighting with each other Indians, even if you don't show that, if you at least show that, the various, because India is a very diverse country, and if you can just show that various sections of the population are against the unity of India or against the idea of the Indian nation, that is enough to push you forward. Wasn't it Arundhati Roy in one of her very old interviews with Salman Rushdie was also there, another woman was there. It's a very old interview where she said that in India, everyone, if they look hard enough, everyone is a minority. Okay. So he tries to push this idea in the sense that if everyone's a minority, everyone's being discriminated against, which means India is the big bad villain. But let's face it, if even we take her seriously, if everyone is indeed a minority and everyone is coexisting, that means that India is not the big bad villain that she's trying to make it out to be. We are not constantly warring with each other. It's not that situation here. So
But if the
conflicts and
people want it, Karan,
oh God, yeah.
I have
Sometimes I
a
think even the
yeah,
people
go
don't
on.
want it. Like if you go and talk to ordinary middle class Kashmiris who
Yeah,
actually want a better life, they may not even
yeah.
want this kind of militants. See, like there are Bengali people these Bangla Pokho people who even talk about Bengali separatism, right? Not, I have seen that in the comment sections in that some videos of Gorgo Chatterjee that Bengali nationalism, that kind of bullshit.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
do all Bengalis actually even want that? We don't.
Hmm.
We are very happy
Hmm.
to be a part of India. So I'm not saying that every Kashmiri is happy to be a part of India or whatever, but
Hmm.
they may not want the constant violence all the time. They may want
Hmm.
something good for their children.
Hmm.
Okay. So I don't think even the people want so much violence. I think only Arundhati Roy type people want so much violence. She wants all that nonsense. And that's why
Hmm.
she will want to create a narrative where people want this. People want it or
Hmm.
you want it.
Now everyone has this scope out of the people want it. The people want it. This reminds me that when Trinamool was still a long shot from coming to power, and ABP Anando had just recently come on the scene. So one day, Shuman of ABP Anando had said something hilarious to a Trinamool guy because they had recently called a bandh, and that's when it was Buddhadev Bhattacharya's time. Everyone was thinking that now finally West Bengal is going to be great again. Bharat Sabha Shrestha Ashono Lobe, etc. And now the time for bandhs is gone finally. CPM had all of a sudden become a little anti-bandh, and Trinamool was, they had to play according to the left's rules because they were the new kids on the block. So they were calling for strikes and being violent and stuff. So when they were debating this stuff, that why a bandh for this issue, the Trinamool person was going on saying that মানুষ বলছে মানুষের জন্য. So after saying মানুষ for 15-20 times, Shuman says, তো বন্ধ তো আপনারা ডেকেছেন, বন্ধ তো মানুষ ডাকেনি. That the strike was called by you, the strike was not called by the people. So where's this survey that you have done that the people want the strike? And to point out to Boishalidi here, it's less the blame on West, and I think more of blame on India why this happens. Because remember, all the papers on Japan that we have discussed, what you will see in the beginning that all of those researchers are funded by the Japanese government. Today, see, core the absolute, let's say, sanctum sanctorum of academia, whatever that produces, that trickles down to the mainstream after about a decade through many pathways. Okay, pop culture, social media, etc., memes, everything. Now today, this positive vibe about Japan that we have is their investment into the education system for the last 30 years, 40 years. Okay, there, no one calls Japan a bad country. How is that possible without PR? It doesn't happen without PR. Only pictures of Japan you see are clean roads. Are you saying there's no fucking dark alley with filled with trash in Japan? There's no mafia don in Japan? Okay, who the fuck were yakuza? They were feeding street dogs. And Japan's caste system, they paid these academics to say that yes, we had a caste system and now it's gone uh, because of capitalism. Or the people who do say that, oh well, it has not gone away, maybe to that extent, even those people never mention that Japan kind of still does not have full democracy in a sense. So there is not much anti-Japan research, that in the same way that there is anti-India research. Now who the fuck funds this? We never replaced our colonial system at all. It's our colonial extractive system that's being run by brown people. We have always paid for our own oppression. That's exactly what's going on even today. We are paying academics to say bad things about us. Japan is doing the opposite. So you have to absolutely have to bring in Japan here.
Yeah, Japan is a wonderful example, but
Hmm.
even Bangladeshi academics will not write against Bangladesh. Even Pakistani
Yeah.
academics will not write against Pakistan. But
Hmm.
Indian academics are ready to write against India, most of them in
Hmm.
humanities. This
Hmm.
is a huge problem. I mean, Japan is a example of a highly developed country, but even far less developed countries, the academics from those countries will not write against their own nation.
Hmm.
So I don't know. Indian government, I guess, needs to wake up really hard and get to this because see, not every academic will be a very dedicated nationalist. Okay,
Hmm.
there are going to be mercenaries. There are going to be people who will work for their own benefits. Why won't they? Okay,
Hmm.
so there will be people who will just play to the tunes of whatever is being incentivized. So you need to incentivize nationalist thought in India again.
Hmm. Next question is PhD worth it in social science?
Hmm. I wish it were, but it is necessary if you want to go far ahead in academics. So,
Hmm.
um, but for getting a job in the private sector and also on, it's not really necessary. Only if you want to stay in academics, it's
Hmm.
necessary because these days everyone is getting one. That's why it's necessary, not because it gives you great knowledge. It can give you great knowledge if you work hard enough, but yeah,
Hmm.
mostly it's necessary because everyone has one now in academics. Yeah.
Right. Here's an interesting question. What do you think about private funding for research? If I can get my money from some institute on my own, then what
Hmm.
is your take?
Yeah. So there are some. I can't name the institutes. I can't remember, but I think there are systems like that in place. Um, and you can apply there. You just have to search. I think I have never tried because I didn't need to, but it is possible. But if your question is whether I advocate private funding as a blanket category for all PhDs, if that is the question you're asking, then no, I don't think that's the best idea because this is something I've heard that American universities are often largely funded with Chinese money or Arab money, and therefore the kind of work they produce advocates the politics of these other countries. So,
Yes.
and oftentimes money can be channelized through private medium as well. So, I am not a big fan of complete lack of government control over uh, funding of education and a complete private funding that may not always be a good idea because there needs to be some degree of checking in each case.
Hmm. And so basically, everyone in the world, every country in the world is funding research that, in some way or the other, at least helps their own country's narrative, except India. Indian government is definitely not funding any nice stuff, and nor are the Indian fucking billionaires. India is the only country. India and probably USA are the only two countries in the whole world. Oh, I guess England as well are the three countries who fund their academics to say bad things about their own country. um so there's Saudi money, Qatar money, UAE, everyone. Yeah, I don't think there is anyone else who pays their academics to say bad things about them. And
Even
and you
Bangladeshi
see,
academics don't. Even Bangladeshi academics will not trash
yeah,
Bangladesh. Just imagine that. Not even
but
now.
they will, no, they will criticize religion and religious fascism and stuff, but not
Yeah, but
Bangladesh as a country as a whole.
yeah, yeah,
They won't question the very existence of the country.
yeah, and they will not, call it an illegitimate union of
Right.
states rather than a
Yes,
nation.
yes,
Huh, all that.
yes.
They won't do that.
Yeah, yeah. There, I think we are the only ones. And okay, let's take this question first. If academics were not left oriented as well, uh, does subjective humanities, if not backed by statistics of or some kind of math, is that any more valuable than the that the market would pay for it?
So if academics were not leftist, and
Hmm.
but if subjective work were promoted, then would market back it? Is that what you're
Hmm.
asking?
I
Okay,
think so.
okay. So uh, this would the subjective work by its own definition is very varied, right? You
Hmm.
cannot have one category only of subjective work. So uh, it would depend on how important your research is. What can you give an example of subjective work? Because it would vary from case to case, right?
Hmm.
Uh, Now, on the face of it, it may appear that some research is irrelevant. But if suppose some development project or something is going to happen in that area, that research might become relevant. So it would
Hmm.
vary. So if you provide some examples, that would be easy to answer then.
Yeah. Actually, another viewer is pointing out that Shaikh, whom you also know, Shaikh Paul is prime example of researcher in a private company. So the company pays him to be a researcher. He's, as I've told you, he has 2,000 citations on Google Scholar. He has written so many papers.
So, yeah, yeah.
Um,
So it's a reality then.
yeah. Avinav is saying, as Salvatore Babunas once said in your podcast, the Indian elites who work in academia and the NRI population are the ones who hate India the most. Forget about any white Westerners or Pakistanis.
Mm.
Humanities left wingers have an uncanny ability to subject statistics exactly as they want to. India is the only slave colony that pays reparations to its.
Yeah, yeah,
uh,
true.
okay, that seems to be the end of the audience questions. Let me see if I have something left. Uh, yes, this was, yeah, yeah. We are through all the questions. Oh, this was a long. I think this was our longest live stream podcast with you.
Okay.
Wait. Here's another question. Yeah, this is a second. This is the second time he's asking this. Many global corporations have R&D departments in India. Has that helped us in any way? Do they provide funding or something, or is it just for jobs and has no connection to improving research in India? This is sort of
As
a,
far as
a geopolitics question.
as far as I know, the R&D departments are attached to specific companies. So, suppose like LG or whatever, Samsung, so they have their own R&D departments for their own production, as far as I know. So,
Hmm.
I believe this has little to do with academic related work, but whatever R&D they are doing, if some of it is available for public viewing, then uh, it could contribute to the existing body of literature. But
Hmm.
as far as I know, R&D of specific companies are meant for those companies only, because
Hmm.
that's the resource they are using to develop their own product, no, to sell it in the market. So why will they make it a public academic thing?
Hmm. Okay then, ma'am. Thank you very much
Thank you.
for joining today's live stream. It was a very nice discussion and very broad. We covered countless topics. Thank you
Okay,
guys
thank
also
you.
for joining in the live stream. Thank you, ma'am. Hope to have you back soon. Good night, guys. Good night, ma'am.
যদি সবাই ফিরে যায় ওরে ওরে ও ভাগা সবাই ফিরে যায় যদি গহন পথে যাওয়ার কালে কেউ ফিরে না যায় তবে পথের কাটা তুই রক্ত মাখা চরণ তলে একলা দলরে তুই রক্ত মাখা চরণ তলে একলা দলরে যদি তোর ডাক শুনে কেউ না আসে তবে একলা চলো রে চলো রে, আপন বুকের পাঁজর চালিয়ে নিয়ে একলা চলো রে। যদি তোর ডাক শুনে কেউ না আসে, তবে একলা চলো রে। একলা চলো, একলা চলো, একলা চলো, একলা চলো।